The principles of animation. In this session we want to introduce you to the basic principles of animation. The principles of animation are 12 basic principles put together by legendary Disney animators who worked on the classic Disney films such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Bambi, Jungle Book, Aristocats, Sword and the Stone, and The Rescuers, to name a few. Two of these legendary animators, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, wrote a book named Illusion of Life, in which they go into these principles in depth, and how these principles help them push animation to a whole new level that made Disney films unique. These principles, as discussed in the book, The Illusion of Life, and in order of importance to set the foundations of your animation training, are timing. Timing is without a doubt one of the most important principles. Timing is basically the number of drawings that you have in your animations, and how do you space them out in each frame. It's really a fundamental principle that in many cases takes years to figure out. It's the one principle that right away will give life to something as simple as a bouncing ball. With proper timing, you can have a simple bouncing ball feel extremely happy or very sad. It's all on the timing. Without timing, you have no life, just movement. Timing will be covered starting on a bouncing ball, all the way to full body characters, from fingers to facial animation throughout the episodes. Squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is basically the change of volume in any kind of shape. It shows graphically its reaction against a force. The best example that shows this is the classic bouncing ball, but with time you'll find that squash and stretch can be pretty much applied to everywhere. Also, the change of volume makes things feel more organic/elastic than stiff, as well as creating a feeling of weight in your animations. It's one of the principles that best uses the animation medium, for many reasons that you'll be learning as you study animation. This change of shape is one of the principles that brings actions, a feeling of life in characters or objects. It's a principle that makes things to start looking more cartoon than realistic, if applied to objects or characters that can't physically change volume or shape. Slow in and slow out. Talking in terms of drawings, slow in and slow out means that we need more drawings at the beginning of an action, slow out of an pose, or at the end of the action, slow into the pose that in the middle of it, because we have to sell the idea that the object/character takes a little bit of time to get moving. This applies as well as to when the character or the object is coming to a stop. This principle breaks down movement in terms of timing, which makes any animation interesting. For example, when we don't use slow-in or slow-out, animations tend to feel lifeless or mechanical. Slow-in/slow is one of the principles that, more than a principle, is more of a rule. Almost every single object takes some time to start moving as well as to stop, even the smallest of the objects, unless the object encounters an external force or object, or when we want things to feel robotic. Otherwise, adding more drawings at the beginning and at the end of an action will make action seem more natural. We'll be covering slow-in/slow out in our timing class, and we'll be talking in depth about this concept and how it applies to our everyday life, as well as to our animations. We'll be introducing the concept of forces and the reasons behind movement itself. Anticipation. In animation, Pretty much every single principle is as important as the next one. Anticipation is basically preparing the audience for something. So in the most basic sense, on the bouncing ball example, we anticipate the bounce by squashing the ball to gain energy so that the ball can actually bounce. There are many ways of anticipation, from facial changes in expression to a broad physical action. In addition, ideas or actions can be anticipated cinematically by the use of the language of film. But in Class 1 we are purely going to concentrate on physical anticipation, because it's what strictly applies to character animation. Anticipation is crucial when trying to sell a movement or action, because you are telling the viewer what movement/action you are going to do. Without anticipation, the audience would have no idea what just happened. And in films, we have to make sure audiences understand everything we are telling them. A good way to understanding anticipation is found in a quote by Charlie Chaplin. Tell them you are going to do something. Do it. Then tell them you did. Over follow-through/overlapping action. Feat/OA means breaking the movement/action of things. People or objects made out of different parts don't move to point A to point B all at once. So overlapping is basically breaking the movement of the different parts of the body when a person is doing an action, such as the spine, the head, and the arms. Simple example, in an arm, the upper part of the arm moves first, then the forearm follows after. If we stop and think about our own anatomy, we are going to notice that our locomotion and the way we move are influenced by the fact that we have bones and joints. Bones and joints don't move together at the same time. So feat/OA is a way to break down these movements, to give it a more realistic/organic feel to the character and to avoid stiffness. Bobby's class on this topic will be broken down in different types of follow-through and overlapping action.